it was about dating and sex, and he was producing, and I was like, and I think Richardson was like the first, he was the guest, and he's like, ooh, is that weird for him? And I'm like, no, I mean, we didn't really talk about anything weird. I think we're good. Forgot he was there anyway. Okay. All right. I'll start now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Life Possible with a Disability. I am really excited today. So you guys are going to get to know Josh Turek kind of along with me because Josh and I both work for Numotion. He is a specialty account manager in Nebraska, Iowa, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah.
good.
And I live in Louisiana. So we have gotten to know each other a little tiny bit, but it's all been during COVID. So that means that we've never met in person. Josh is a 4-time Paralympic wheelchair basketball athlete and gold medalist in the 2016 Paralympics. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So I don't know how he's doing all of it. I really don't. But he is getting ready to go to Tokyo, and I am honored to have him as my guest today and can't wait to get this conversation started. So
yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. Really excited about it.
Me too. Okay. So tell us about yourself.
Sure. So as you mentioned, Josh Turek, I am a 4-time Paralympian in wheelchair basketball representing the United States. I'm actually currently at the United States Olympic and Paralympic training facility in Colorado Springs, and I'm actually in what they call the Gold Room. It just seemed kind of appropriate place to film this.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're out here training and doing our best to prepare for Tokyo because we're going to be heading out in about 3 weeks to go there and to try to defend our gold medal.
That is like gives me chills. It's like unbelievable. And you were born with your disability. Is that correct? I was acquired mine as a 19-year-old, and I guessed incorrectly. Josh and I were having a conversation, and he's a super tall guy. So I was totally wrong about his disability. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was born with Spina Bifida. So I have had my disability since day dot, and honestly, I think in some ways, I always tell people, they say, it's so difficult to adjust, to your disability. How is it? Truth of the matter is, you can't miss what you've never had, and so, like for me, this is the only reality I've known. This is the only body I've known, the only experience, and so in that sense, I think it was. Although it came with its challenges, no question, I think it's easier to accept if from the beginning, this is all, like I said, you can't miss what you've never had.
Yeah, I have that experience. I was a student at LSU. And when I first went back to LSU, learning how to get up these enormous ramps, that was before the ADA, which we're recording this on the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So shout out to ADA.
Yeah, great day.
Yeah. So 3 years before it was signed, I was a student and I was struggling to just physically get around, dealing with how people looked at me and, all that. And this guy that was born with one limb, one arm and no legs, went at the ramp before me like it was nothing, opens the door for me. And I was like, I do not know how you do this. And he's like, this is easy for me. This is hard for you, but this is easy for me. So that's the one other time I remember somebody saying, yeah, you don't miss what that's all he ever knew. So
that's right. And so then, from the beginning, you just learn to make adjustments with what you have.
Yeah. And one thing you did touch on before was like, because I guess I was past the bullying stage. Like my disability happened at 19. And so in college, people don't really bully you. They may shun you, but they don't bully you. But can you share some of your experiences as a kid?
Yeah. Like I said, growing up with spina bifida. So I grew up in a moderately small town, Council Bluffs, Iowa. I was lucky in the sense that I grew up with 4 other brothers and sisters and all very athletic. I actually come from kind of a basketball family, let's say. My brother played for the University of Nebraska and played professionally over in Europe for 11 years. My sister played professional basketball in Spain for 2 years, played at Oral Roberts University, had a brief cup of coffee in the WNBA. And
Wow.
so, like you said, really, really tall. Honestly, for my family, I'm quite short. I'm about 5'11", but my brother's 6'9", my sister's 6'1", so really, really tall genetics. And that's one thing when I immediately found wheelchair basketball, it just felt right immediately. I feel like it's part of our genetics, almost part of our blood. But yeah, going back to what you said, there were some enormous benefits to growing up in a real competitive family, and we all were really close, and they pushed me. However, on the other side of things, as you mentioned, school was really, really difficult for me. We were quite poor, and so I never had the nicest of clothes or the nicest of things. And then you add in the disability, and you're doing everything that I could just to learn to deal with this and fit in socially. And yeah, basically what you said, kind of shunned, ostracized, made fun of. And it got to the point where, honestly, in sixth grade, it was not only the students that were making fun of me, but at times it felt like one teacher in particular, who was my homeroom teacher, was kind of stepping in and joining in with the kids. And I remember like going home in tears to my family and just being like, look, enough, I can't do this anymore. Like the students is all I can take. I can't add in with the teacher. And so I actually ended up leaving, and I went to a very, very small Christian school in Missouri until ninth grade. And much like you mentioned, high school was a bit easier. It still wasn't easy. I almost feel like growing up with spina bifida, I always felt like I was like socially delayed by a few years. And so I never felt like, again, and some of that maybe was going from that small Christian school with only 10 students and then jumping into, a large high school with 2,000 students. Maybe that put me a little socially behind, but I never felt like it. But at least the bullying cut down. And so honestly, I can really genuinely say this, like adaptive sports and wheelchair basketball really saved my life, because it was the one place where I could go, where I had confidence, and, I was good, and, and I had individuals I could compete with, and friends and teammates. And, that was really my happy place. When I was there on the court and I was shooting and I was training, I felt good about myself. I felt great. And,
That's
everything
awesome.
in the outside world kind of disappeared.
So when did you first start playing wheelchair basketball or discover it?
Yeah, so I discovered wheelchair basketball when I was about 13. There was an adaptive sports camp out of my city, Omaha, Nebraska, Council Iowa, basically the same city, just divided by a river. And I was exposed there. They had almost every single adaptive sport, which was great.
Yeah.
And wheelchair basketball was one of them, along with tennis and track and swimming and whatever we wanted to do. So it was great to have exposure to everything. And like I said, from the moment I got in the chair, I was already, in a wheelchair in the backyard shooting with my brother and sister, because we all played basketball. We were at the YMCA daily. And so when I was like, oh my goodness, I can play not against, able bodies standing up, which was so difficult. It's like, oh, this is an even playing field. I can play against other individuals. And I just immediately fell in love with
And when
sport.
you get that first sport chair, like I am not athletic. I love working out. I loved working out before, and I figured out any way I could to work out after, but that's really more of a competition with myself, but I'm not super coordinated, even when I could walk. So don't have any athletic genes at all. So I tried to play wheelchair tennis, but the difference between a sports chair and our regular lightweight chairs is huge.
Enormous.
So
So, I mean, for those of you that don't know, the chairs that we play wheelchair basketball in are completely sports specific. They would never work in a day in and day out. They have two wheels in the back to keep you from tipping over. So essentially you're on six wheels. The wheels are cambered out to allow maximum stability and maximum turn radius. The chairs are built specifically for us. I mean, down to the mill. You think of like a K5 manual wheelchair that's like, oh, this is built for me. No. I mean, this is, if I were to gain 10 pounds, I wouldn't be able to fit in my chair. And we're strapped in. They're built with either titanium or high-grade aluminum because they need to be light, but they also need to be durable enough to take contact. And yeah, especially for those that you have never seen wheelchair basketball, especially at its highest level, like Paralympic level wheelchair basketball, I cannot push hard enough for you to see that and experience, because it is a true professional level sport with guys that have trained thousands and thousands of hours, dedicated their whole life to this, and are truly athletic and gifted. It's amazing. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
sport.
I think we'll probably have some links because Numotion's gonna, do this whole
Yeah, do some
thing.
watch parties. That's going to be
Yeah,
great.
so excited. Yeah. To actually, because I love watching, well, any Olympic events, and then we have a big international wheelchair tennis tournament here. So players of wheelchair tennis come from all over the world. It's one of the largest. So I've seen that in person, which is unbelievable too. But yeah, so I'm curious. So you trained as an athlete your whole life. And I know that means that you probably, you didn't party probably like other people. I mean, like I would feel like there's a lot of sacrifice involved in being an Olympic caliber athlete.
There certainly is. So my story is, after I played my junior basketball for a team called the Nebraska Red Dogs, which is basically like a community team. You play up until 18. From there is university wheelchair basketball. And across the country, there's probably, I would guess, 15 teams, from Arizona to Minnesota to Illinois to Wisconsin, all over the place. And I was recruited from several different places. I decided to stay more or less home. I ended up going to Southwest Minnesota State University. I wanted to do that because I wanted to be kind of a big fish in a small pond, as opposed to the reverse. And went there and played really well. I ended up setting the record for most points scored in a game, 63. Wow. Most points scored in a career. I think I still have the record actually in wheelchair basketball total. Wow. I scored 4,000 points in my college career.
Wow.
And from there, we were playing our final four tournament, and there was a team from Italy that came out in Milan, Italy, and they said, "Would you be interested in coming out and playing professionally?" And honestly, I had no idea that professional wheelchair basketball even existed up until that point.
Wow.
And it's interesting because from the very beginning for me, even when I was young, like Red Dogs, 14, 15 years old, for me, my ultimate goal was always to play for USA and to play in the Paralympics and to try to win a gold medal. I had no intention of saying, "Oh, I want to travel the world and play in all these other countries and play professionally." Didn't know it existed.
Yeah, like I would have said you had me at Milan. I would have been like, "Bye," like, and I don't know. I love Italy.
So I ended up, after I graduated out of college, I ended up going to Italy, played really well. Ended up spending 2 years in Milan. From there, I ended up going to Madrid. Spent 6 seasons playing in Madrid. I actually ended up from there going to the south of France and played near Cannes. I know I've been really, really lucky with my places that I got to go. Yeah. It was never like some small East German town. It's always been like Milan, Madrid. So I played in France actually for 2 years. France isn't one of the best leagues in the world. But my brother was playing able-bodied, and I thought, man, how great would this be for us to both be in the same country at the same time, and I could see some of his game and he could see some of mine. Right. And it was beautiful living on the beach. Like I said, I mean, I was 20 minutes from Saint-Tropez. I was an hour from Monaco and Cannes and all these places you read about. And,
I've been to Nice, but yeah, their beaches are not crazy. Yeah.
Most beautiful. I mean, it is the richest country on earth. I mean, it's like if you're into cars or, fashion or any of that, it's like car heaven. It really is. It's unbelievable. And it's like California, and that the weather's good every day. It's nothing but sunshine and beautiful. But actually, so I ended up only staying 2 years in France because I wanted to go back to Spain, which is the very best basketball league in the world. And I went back there in 2015 and ended up playing in Bilbao. And that was to prepare myself to be at the maximum level I could be leading into 2016, which was really
Is that when you met your beautiful wife?
I met my wife when actually I met her in Madrid.
Yeah.
And so it's funny enough, though. It's crazy. I ended up spending about 8 years because I played 17 years professionally, and I spent about 8 years in Madrid in total.
A lot, yeah.
And never met her. And the very first year that I went to France, I ended up meeting her. And it was because I went back. I had lots of friends. One of my best friends, Ryan Martin,
Yeah.
He was playing still
I met
in
Ryan once.
Madrid. Yeah, and so we're really, really close. And so as we were there, he was coming out visiting me and vice versa.
I
And
always like
as
it if I post something on social media and Ryan Martin likes it. I feel like that's a big
you've
win for
accomplished
me.
something,
Yeah.
yeah, he's doing big things in this realm now, especially with his foundation. He's doing some great things. But how I met my wife was, me and Ryan, we were out about in the town, and he ended up going up to her. Strange enough, he was just bouncing around. He's a real social guy, and he went up and he said, "Hey, I think that my friend would really like you. You should go over there and chat with her." And sure enough, it came over and struck up a conversation, and we ended up doing long distance for a decent bit of time. And she was in dental school and studying, and really all about her education. And so it was, believe me, long distance relationships, especially international. I mean, when you're spending $1,000 a ticket just to end up spending time with each other and time on the phone, it is very grueling. But we stuck it out and we made it. And now we're happily married and have a nice house in Iowa. And she's made the transition from Madrid, Spain to Council Bluffs, Iowa, which at times huge. I think that she absolutely hates me for. But she also has learned to really embrace America and some of the beautiful aspects of it. And it is where we live. We've got a great place, and it's a great city. And at times I feel like I've done kind of a disservice just because I've brought her to my family and my friends and my hometown. But she's been a real trooper, and I love her for it. Because I'll tell you what, the main reason, it wasn't like, okay, where's the most beautiful place on earth? It certainly wouldn't have been Council Bluffs, Iowa. Honestly, I love Madrid. It's one of my. It feels, if there's a second home for me, it's Madrid, and I would have been really happy to live there. But she made the sacrifice because what she realized is the opportunities for me working post basketball in a country like Spain were very, very minimal. The majority of disabled individuals in Spain or in Europe, they're out selling lottery tickets on the street, actually.
Really?
And and the vast majority of them are doing that. And she knew that would, I'm too ambitious of a person. She knew that I had great ambitions to have this part B of my life, to be very successful in a new space and to do some great things. And so she made the sacrifice saying, okay, I can still do dentistry in America just like I can do it in Europe. So I'm going to sacrifice for you.
Wow.
So I'm eternally
it's huge
for doing that.
Yeah. Relationships are hard. Long distance is sometimes impossible, but someone's going to have to make a big sacrifice.
Has to sacrifice.
Yeah. But for love, it's worth it. And I'm sure y'all get to go back to Madrid. I mean, maybe not for a while, but I'm sure you get to go back.
She actually got to go back once this year, and she's going to go back actually soon. She's the godmother of her best friend. She just had a baby, and so she's going to go back for the baptism. Nice. I have not been able to travel since I've joined on with Numotion. I've banked all of my vacation and all of my sick days that I possibly could because I knew I was going to need this big chunk for 3 weeks of time to go to Tokyo. So
that is no
vacations for me.
No, so exciting. So during the time of COVID, this will be the first Olympics. You've probably had some amazing Olympic experiences, and this one will be different because Japan's pretty locked down. You told me it'd kind of be like jail. I think you meant
it's going to be a gilded prison. That absolutely is correct. In terms of the Paralympic experience, so every single one is completely different and completely unique. The journey as an individual athlete, where you're at in your life, where you're at in terms of your sporting life, your teammates, your coaches, certainly where the event is being held. It's completely unique, and it's great to appreciate that and embrace that journey, especially with the team, the teammates, to build that team all together, to work together. But so, like, for example, my very first one was Athens. Really young. I had just finished playing my first professional year, went over there, and it was an amazing experience because I think regardless of what anyone tells you, they'll say, what was the greatest experience? Like, what was your favorite ring is something they'll ask Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. I think they're lying if they tell you that anything other than the very first one was meant the most to you. Right. So Athens wasn't my favorite, but there will never be another situation where I'm like, wow, oh my God, this is my first time. Look at the lights, the events, the people I'm wearing. This is it. I've achieved my dream of wearing a USA jersey.
Yeah.
But on the sporting side of things, even though it was beautiful to be in the home of the Olympics, where it all originated, began. I mean, I
was in
history.
Athens. I got to go because of the Paralympics. They had that lift to the top of the Acropolis.
Yeah, that's right.
And I did that.
They put that in actually during 04, right before the Paralympics.
It's still 3 years ago when I went. I got to take advantage of that and get to the top of the Acropolis.
It's amazing. It's a beautiful place. I really loved it for that. Like I said, I studied history for my bachelor's degree, and so for me to be there and kind of the cradle of Western civilization and all of the ruins and stuff, it was amazing. However, we're ultimately there to do a job, and on the sporting side of things, it was a complete disaster for us. Although we finished first in our group, our crossover, we ended up losing at the last second, got a tough foul call against us. So we got knocked out. We ended up finishing 7th, which for the United States, for a basketball country, it was like abject failure. And then for me, this is one of the things I'm the most proud of. I don't think we discussed this, is from 04 all the way until 2011, I was cut every single year from the USA team. Every single year. Showed up, tried out, cut. In arguably what could have been considered like some of my most prime years. And so for 6
What was that
years,
about, do you think? Do you know?
Well, one of the beauties and the beast of being a United States athlete, particularly in wheelchair basketball, the beauty is that that you are going to have the opportunity to win a medal and to win a gold medal, because we are one of we have one of the largest talent pools to pull from. I mean, we have maybe 300 teams and so many. I mean, you think about, we're a country of 320 million people. We have a lot of basketball players.
Yeah.
The beast is that they can only take 12 players. And so depending on the coach and what he's looking for, and particularly during that time, I felt like there was a little bit of politics involved, where they wanted to take particular athletes from a particular school and so I was cut. And one of the things that I'm most proud of outside of my gold medal is that I didn't quit. I just kept coming back and getting cut and getting cut. And I just kept saying, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to get so good where they can't cut me anymore.
Wow.
And in 2011, made the team again. And from that point on, I haven't been cut since. And so then had, the opportunity to go to London, which was, in my opinion, I think most people's opinion, that was the greatest Paralympics in terms of organization and fan support. For example, there were more Paralympic tickets sold than Olympic tickets sold for the Paralympics in London. They set up the 2 largest McDonald's in the world. They're just temporary buildings there, but I mean, they're massive. I mean, they're like 40 cashiers long. And the two biggest days that they had in the London Olympics and Paralympics were Paralympic days, not Olympic days. And
so what is it? Wow. So, and because typically the Paralympics starts after the Olympics ends.
2 weeks after the Olympics ends. That's correct. So everything has to become adaptive, and they put in all the ramps and the facilities, everything that we would need. Olympians get out of there, and then we come in. And so London was amazing, because we were playing in front of packed houses every single game. And one of the coolest things that I ever have been able to experience was, we ended up taking bronze. We got knocked out in the semifinals from Australia. So we didn't get our ultimate goal of winning gold. But in the bronze medal game, we ended up playing Great Britain in London, in the O2 Arena, which is the largest arena in all of Europe. And it was just packed. Completely packed. These people are going nuts. And, at the beginning of the game, we're singing the anthem. The whole place is just booming with God Save the Queen. And it was amazing. And I went out there and played about 30 minutes and played one of the best games that I've ever played. And we ended up winning.
Wow.
And, that was my first medal. Again, like first experiences, even though that was a bronze medal, not our ultimate goal of a gold medal. That thing meant a lot to me, because I knew all of the time and the sacrifice and the thousands of hours for me to finally get back to the Paralympics after, 8 years. That meant a lot to me.
Wow. Yeah. Cause I think I put that in. My uncle, after I got shot, pulled this tattered card out. And there was a quote about persistence. And because it's, you don't have to be the most gifted or the smartest or, the richest or whatever it is, but if you persist through
Yeah,
what feels like failure.
that's right.
Yeah.
If you continue to work, and the same thing I always tell kids, like if you throw everything you have into something and you give it all and fall in love with the process of becoming great,
Yeah.
if you put in, like Malcolm Gladwell says, we need 10,000 hours to become a true expert at something. If you put that kind of time in, which is what I ended up doing, the results will come. And look, for high level athletics, you can't just say, okay, just put in the time, you're going to be there. I mean, you do need some natural talent. You need some breaks to go your way. You need to stay healthy. But ultimately, regardless of what your field is, whether it's a personal relationship, whether it's your job, whether it's sports, if you put in the time and you do the work, the results will come.
Yeah, that's awesome. So there's one question I'm going to forget, but what do you eat? What do Paralympic athletes, I mean, you have to treat your body. I know I have to treat my body just because I'm paralyzed. I feel like I take exceptional care of myself and I attempt to eat really well most of the time. It was my birthday this last weekend. I ate crap all weekend, but
and hey, everyone needs that from time to time.
Yeah.
In terms of, can I go back real quick?
Yeah, of
and
course.
I will get to this.
Yeah.
So I touched on 12, but truthfully, that next go round, the lead up into, so I was in the Paralympics at 4 and then 12, and then our great run was 2016, and I was involved in that 4 years.
Is that Rio?
That was Rio, and that's when we won our gold medal. And that group of athletes, I always call it was basketball nirvana, because we had 12 guys that were all the very best players in the world, but no one cared who played, no one cared who scored. It was just a beautiful thing to be a part of, and having been a part of it on the other end and been a part of some other teams, it was amazing to get to experience that. And we won every game. By statistics, we go down as the greatest team to ever do it. The closest anyone came to us was 18 points, and that was in the gold medal game. And to be a part of that group and to win the gold medal, this is be amazing to people that don't know about our sport. But so you think of USA as this wheelchair basketball or basketball country and basketball powerhouse. That was the first time that we had actually won the gold medal since 1988. So 28 years. And to be a part of that group, to finally do that, and I was at my best. I mean, I'm playing really well. And,
how old were you?
37 at that one. So again, I've been really, really lucky with longevity. But that was if you're to ask me what was the greatest part of my sporting life, there's no question that to work that hard for that long, to put in all the time, and then to finally win the gold medal. And it's true, it's kind of cliche, but everyone says, oh, you get that gold medal and you see, your flag raised up and you hear the national anthem and Star Spangled Banner, but it really is true. It was an overwhelming amount of emotions. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but to be there and to have my mom there and, my sister and my family and my wife in the stands watching me, and to be there with all of these guys that I had worked with. I mean, two of my teammates, we began in 2002 playing for like the under 23 USA team, and to go all that long, to know everything that you've had to do and sacrifice and work, it was amazing. Like there's no words that I could.
If that had been it, you would have been okay.
I was happy, actually. That was my plan. I said, look, that's it. That's my moment. I've got my gold medal. I'm happy to walk away. And ultimately what ended up happening, I ended up sitting out 2017, but I was still playing over in Europe, and I was playing over in Spain. And Spain is I think without question the best league in the world. I was still leading the Spanish league in scoring, because honestly, I was kind of expecting to have kind of a physical tail off here, as most people do entering your late 30s. But
you're like the Drew Brees of Paralympic basketball.
What's that?
The Drew Brees of Paralympic basketball.
Oh yeah. I think what you're seeing in all sports, whether it was Kobe or Garnett in basketball or Drew Brees or Tom Brady, you're seeing guys be able to play longer. And so, I was still playing professionally. And actually what ended up happening is I didn't play in the World Championships in 2018. And we ended up losing. And we ended up losing badly to Great Britain. And so from that point, all of my teammates kind of contacted me and the coaches and said, hey, would you be willing to come back? And I really was rolling the dice. It's like, look, I had this basketball nirvana moment, to step away, winning the gold medal. But I did. I still had that burning desire in me. And I wanted to be there for my teammates and to represent your country. The Olympics and Paralympics really supersedes individual sports to represent your country and your city and your family.
Every time you say that, I get chills. Actually,
it is. It's amazing. It really is. I mean, there are no words for it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to roll the dice and I'm going to try. I'm going to try to go back and played really, really well. Arguably my best international tournament I've ever had was 2019, which was our qualifiers in Lima, Peru. And now here we are, even though a year delayed, which certainly brought its own unique trials and tribulations for me. But here we are on the doorstep of, 3 weeks away from going to Tokyo.
Oh my gosh. I know we were kind of waiting, like, I knew you were waiting to hear about the 12, right? That were picked. And
that's right.
Yeah.
And look, for me, for some guys, it's not, I was pretty sure that I was going to make it because again, I've been with it and they kind of asked me to come back and I'm playing really well. I'm physically, I'm fit. And like I said, I mentally and physically, I'm in a really good place right now, playing some of the best basketball, shooting the ball as well as I ever have. So I was pretty certain I was going to make that. But look, for someone like me that has been cut so many times, it's a very nerve-wracking experience because I'm like, look, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where the story ends for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So looking forward to Tokyo.
One thing I want to go back to what you had originally asked me for.
Right. Yeah, because you said you're in your best shape. You're in great shape right now.
Yeah, and that is so my longevity and the condition that I'm in to be in your early 40s still playing some of the best basketball of your life. That's directly related to discipline and dedication, as you touched on. That's watching your diet every day. I do a lot of intermittent fasting personally, and so I try to limit the amount of time that I'm eating. I try to limit that to like 6 or 8 hours a day, unless I'm in full training mode. Because like when we're here at the OTC, we're burning probably 5,000, 6,000 calories a day. It's impossible in that sense. I've got to be eating almost 3 or 4 meals a day. But when I'm just training at home, it's intermittent fasting, and again, it's trying to eat as many healthy foods as you possibly can. I try to make it almost paleo, which is you stick to meats and nuts and fruits and vegetables. But beyond that, I mean, it's cold showers, it's getting in the sauna. I do a lot of supplementation. I mean, I take a lot of vitamins and fish body oils and glutamine and glucosamine, and I mean a lot of supplementation. And I'm pretty diligent about my sleep. I wear this Whoop strap that lets me know exactly kind of physically where I'm at. If I slept enough, if I haven't.
Really?
I think people would be amazed at, I think far too often, especially individuals that aren't familiar with adaptive sports and wheelchair basketball in particular, you have this picture in your mind of, wheelchair basketball, that's some guys in some K5 chairs moving ever so slowly and throwing a ball at a 6-foot hoop. They have no idea that this is a completely professional level sport with the highest level athletes, like I said, that have dedicated their whole life to training. And,
maybe I can add a link. I usually do like these little description of the podcast. And when we post it up there, I can put a link so people can see.
I think that'd be a great idea to throw on like the gold medal game or, 2019 gold medal game so people can see it and experience it because it's incredible.
I want to go see it too. So, on to 3 weeks from now, you're going to have a bit of a different, it kind of makes me sad that your wife and your family can't go this time. And they're probably going to be pretty restrictive on what you can do outside of your playing time.
Incredibly restrictive. Yeah. Like I said, it's Tokyo. So everyone is completely unique. The journey here to Tokyo has been incredibly difficult. The year layoff was very difficult for me in that, so up to all this point that I've made USA teams, I've always been playing professionally as a job. And so I had this great plan and it was perfect. It was, I'm going to play 20. I had actually taken the front part of the 2020 season, those 3 months, and I had joined on with Numotion, and I was taking my ATP test, and I knew that this is where I wanted to go and be for, for after my basketball life. And then I went over to play in Spain, and I was going to finish in May. And then here the Paralympics are going to come in September of 2020. And then I'm going to be done. I'm going to jump on with Numotion, and everything's going to be perfect. And I was playing so well. I was All-Star 5 at the Copa del Rey in Spain and just feeling physically great. And then COVID comes and all basketball stops. I move back to the USA. I jump on with Numotion. I buy a house. So here I am, at this late stage of my career, not even having access to anyone to play with or train with. And then for the very first time, having to work full time, 8 hours a day, and also be able to find the time and the energy to train. And so it was incredibly difficult that basically every morning, waking up at like 5 o'clock or 5:30, going into the gym, getting up shots, working all day, and as a Sam, especially with a big territory like Nebraska and Iowa, a lot of time on the road and getting back home late and then trying to get into the gym and do cardio. So it was incredibly grueling in that sense. But yeah, here we are. And look, Tokyo is also going to bring its very unique challenges in that normally half of the fun, half of the enjoyment of being there is to be there with your family and your friends. And everyone knew this was going to be the end for me. And so I had so many family members and siblings and my wife and et cetera that were all, made plans and saved money, ready to go to Tokyo and experience it with me, to be there for me at the finale. And no, none of that can happen. And now there's not going to be any fans there either. Yeah. We're going to be on full quarantine lockdown, that we're not going to be able to actually go out to Tokyo, experience the culture of the place, which again is part of the enjoyment. And essentially what it's going to be is we're going to be able to leave to go to train, do one training per day, and leave to do our game. And that's going to be, other than that, it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be kind of like a gilded prison. And so to kind of like mentally prepare, I feel like this one is going to be almost as grueling mentally as it's going to be physically, because it's like, how do you fill the hours? How do you?
Right. And you're going to have to stay excited without the fans there to pump you up. And
now, sadly, as a wheelchair basketball player, in some ways we're adjusted to that. I mean, like in Europe, we'll get big crowds and big fans, but like if you're used to playing here in the States, which we don't have any professional wheelchair basketball in the States.
Right.
And so it's only club level. Most of the time you're playing in front of just family and friends. And so in that sense, I feel like that's not going to be as difficult for us to adjust to the lack of fans, but it will take away from kind of the grandiose spectacle of it. When you're there and you're playing in front of 20,000 screaming fans, it really does feel bigger than, and that's what we want, because this is the Paralympics for us is the absolute it's the pinnacle of our sport. It's what you can ask anybody that has jumped in wheelchair basketball, from kids all the way to professional. It's like, what do you want more than anything? More than a world championship, more than, a European championship in club, whatever, national championship here. Everyone will tell you the ultimate goal is to have a gold medal around your neck.
Yeah. Our team how are you feeling about your team this year?
Our team is good. We have a real veteran squad. We have kept the same coaching staff since 2013. We have 8 of the 12 athletes returning. And I think that is going to be one of our biggest strengths, is that because in this lead up, we haven't been able to play any friendlies, which normally, we'd be traveling around playing some of the other teams. We're not going to be able to do any of that due to COVID. But we have this kind of core group of 8 athletes that have been together, some of us since like 2011, all the way back. And for everybody to know your role, to know your group, just to know each other. I mean, like I'm in a group with 2 other 3-5s, and we've played together so long. Honestly, it riding a bike. I mean, you can almost do it blindfolded. Like they know where I'm going to be.
I know the
movements they're going to make. And so I think that's going to be the real strength of our team. We are the defending champs. And look, we are going to be an older team. when this coach first took over in 2013, the oldest athlete that he took was 30. Now our youngest athlete on our team, I believe, is going to be 29 or 30. So
Wow.
we are going to be older, but honestly, I think anyone would tell you, if you want to win a gold medal, you've got to go with veterans. You've got to go with guys that have been there, done it, because the Paralympics, it can be overwhelming, especially to rookies. It's so big. I mean, it would be as if the NFL, as if they played one Super Bowl every 4 years, because it's one game. We're not playing a best of 7 series. There's your one semifinal, the one quarterfinals, the one semifinals, and the one gold medal game. And everybody knows in a 40-minute game, anything can happen.
Yeah.
So it's an enormous amount of pressure. So imagine, it's been 5 years now, not 4 years, because the cycle was pushed off 1 year. And so this is our Super Bowl once every 5 years. And we all realize it's bigger than sports too. It's you're wearing, this is for your country, for your people. And it's a lot of pressure. And so I think that us going in there with a very, very veteran group that has been there and done that, I like our chances very much. I think that we should be the favorites going in.
I'm so excited. Well, I have enjoyed every minute of this. I'm so excited. As soon as we get off, I want to go watch the gold medal game. I can't wait to see. I know the communications department at Numotion will be plastering this all over the internet so that we can all rally around you, and hope you can feel all of the love from the United States while you're in Tokyo.
And honestly, I really am genuinely, I have to give a shout out and a true thanks to my bosses, Nate and Amy, and, even Swinford. Everyone has been enormously supportive of me. And I love and appreciate that we're going to have these watch parties, because it's not only support of me, but honestly, as Numotion is a company that is supplying mobility devices, I think it's incredibly important for people to support the adaptive sports movement and the Paralympic movement, and to see and to understand, just for that paradigm shift within their minds, and to see, wow, this is what's possible as a disabled athlete. And I think for many, many people, it's going to be mind blowing.
I'm so excited. It kind of makes me a little bit sad that's a fact, that there's so many people that don't understand the caliber of athletics that goes into the Paralympics or the sport really at all. But you're going to help bring that into the mainstream. And
this is something that during my time I'm really happy about, is that from when I started to now, this great push for inclusion and disability advocacy and awareness, it has really spurred the Paralympic movement along. And this is going to be by far the most amount of hours that NBC has ever dedicated.
Oh my gosh, really?
To the Paralympics. All of the games are going to be on NBC Sports or NBC.
Oh my gosh.
With YouTube. And they've even, with equality, they have now actually made even the prize value of a gold medal equal to what it was for the Olympians, which for a long time, honestly, I won my bronze medal and I got nothing. So it's a huge, huge difference. And for that, I'm really, really appreciative that, sometimes the struggle makes you appreciate the good times along the way. And I am happy that, look, this journey hasn't been super easy for me. Like I said, cut for 6 years, I experienced failure, knocked out in the quarterfinal games. And now here I am. And our team, USA basketball, wheelchair basketball, we're in a far better place. But the Paralympic movement as a whole, we're in a far, far better place. And that makes me really, really happy that I was a part of this time.
You know what? I love the fact that, because you said before, we don't really know each other. So as we have this conversation, we're getting to know each other, just like everyone who gets to listen to this podcast does. But I feel like I do know a little bit of your soul now. It's beautiful. I'm honored to have had you on this show, and I hope tons of people see it and we get the message out. So thank you. Thank you so much.
I feel the exact same way. It was my pleasure and an honor to be here.
All right, Josh, we'll be watching, and bring us home a gold medal.
Thanks so much. I'm going to do my best.
All right.
Go USA.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.